Getting started, getting a t-shirt of your size, knitted fabric, a cover stitch sewing machine, and this is a Singer Professional 5, and a serger, and all the links will be available in the description below, so go and check that out. You're going to want to find a t-shirt that has side seams because you're going to be cutting down the side seams and making a pattern from this t-shirt. Start at the bottom of the t-shirt and cut all the way up the side seam through the armhole. And you want to do this for both side seams. Once you have the side seams cut, go ahead and lay your t-shirt out flat and cut your sleeve out. And then do this for both sleeves. Now that the sleeves are gone, go ahead and cut your shoulder seams. Then you want to cut the neckline off of both the front and the back panels. So you're going to end up with one front panel, one back panel, and 2 sleeves. But you only need to use 1 sleeve. Start by laying your front panel on the fold of your fabric and trace it out. And give yourself about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And this makes up for the seam that you already cut off. At the bottom here, we're going to be adding a little bit of dip to the front just so it's not straight all the way around, and it gives it a nice little look at the bottom. And we are going to be using a French ruler to do this curve. And pretty much all you have to do is go down 2 inches from the center and then reconnect at the regular side seam. And then just round it off. And this French ruler is also good for cleaning up the lines around the armholes. So you can lay it up there and kind of look at it, see if it's looking good. If you need to make a couple corrections, go ahead and do that. But here you can see a little closer look. It's really nice and it comes in handy. And this is also available in the description below, so go on and check that out. Overall, just a really handy tool to have around. And here's a little closer look at that bottom. It just literally rounded off back to the original point on the side seam. Then go ahead and cut that out. Again, this was cut on the fold, so you can just go ahead and unfold that and you'll have your full front panel. And then just repeat that last process for your back panel. And again, for the bottom, we just went 1 more inch past what we did on the front panel, so that way it drops a little bit more in the back. And if you totally just want a straight edge on the bottom, you don't have to round it off. We just like the look of it and it's a little bit different, so that's why we're showing you how to do it for this video. If you want to go just straight flat, all you have to do is trace the pattern all the way around. Grab your sleeve and trace it out, and you're going to want to extend down about 2 inches past the bottom, so that way you have room to make that hem. And as you can see, we went a little far past just so we have room to play with. So now take your front and back panels, place the right sides together and just sew one of the shoulders. And we are going to be using a serger for this. Now on that same side, sew the side seam. And only do this for 1/2. Don't sew the other shoulder or side seam. And the side seam starts at the armhole and goes all the way to the bottom of the shirt. Now we're going to be hemming off the bottom with a double fold bias tape binder, and the link for this is in the description below. You can use any size you want. We're using a little bit bigger one, so that way we get a little bit bigger of a hem. And as you can see, you cut your bias tape out of the same fabric and you feed it through, and it makes for a nice edge. And we are showing this method because a lot of t-shirt companies are starting to do this new method, and it's really minimalistic and looks very good. And you don't have to buy extra ribbing. You can just cut it out of your same fabric, or if you want to use a different knit, go ahead and do that. Switch it up with some different colors, but we're just using all the same fabric. You can get ones that fit machines, but we just found this one laying around and we taped it on and it works just as fine. But you can get ones that are specifically designed for your machine, but all in all, they're pretty universal and you can tape them on if you have to. So we're gonna start at the neckline. So all you have to do is feed your bias tape in there, get it going just a little bit, and then feed the beginning of your neckline into that feeder and just start sewing. And the machine will pull it through. All you have to do is make sure you're keeping that neckline edge within the inside of that feeder, so that way you're catching it all the way through. You can pull a little bit on the other side if you have to, if it kind of gets stuck, but I recommend not to that much because you're using knit and sometimes you'll stretch it weird and the bias tape might come out a little bit wonky. And for this part, I definitely recommend taking your time, making sure that bias tape is feeding through straight. As you can see there, it kind of started to go off a little bit, but we corrected it and then we got back on track. And it's just that easy, and you have a nice, professional, clean looking edge. And now we're going to do the same thing across the entire bottom of the t-shirt. And this one's going to be a little bit longer, so you're going to want to find a big piece of bias tape. And actually, we sewed 2 pieces together, so that way we could go across the entire length in one go. And the reason we're calling it bias tape is because we actually cut this out of the same fabric, but we cut it on the bias of the fabric, so that way it's a little bit more stretchy. And again, you have a nice clean edge on the bottom. And honestly, I like this a little bit more than a standard t-shirt hem. It adds for a higher quality look. So at this point, you should have the neck hemmed and the bottom hemmed. So now we're going to sew the other side, and we're going to start by sewing the side seam. And then go ahead and sew your shoulder seam. Next step is putting the sleeves together, and we're going to start by folding the sleeve in half and just sewing the bottom part of the side seam. And do this for both sleeves. Pull your sleeve right side out and find the outside edge. This will be the edge that you're hemming, so it's going to be flat. You'll see that one edge is more curved and one edge is more flat. Go ahead and start at the seam and roll it over about an inch inwards. Then use your cover stitch and sew all the way around on that edge. And this is a standard way to hem a t-shirt, so if you want to do this to the bottom, you totally can. And repeat this process for the other sleeve. Also, I highly recommend buying a cover stitch or a serger if you're using a lot of knits, because they just work with stretchy fabrics a lot better. They sew with the flex of the fabric. So if you're using a single stitch sewing machine like a regular domestic one on stretchy fabric, that thread will break when you stretch the fabric. So this is why you're using a serger and a cover stitch. And the cover stitch really comes in handy when you start hemming. The cool thing about the Singer Professional 5, it can convert into a serger and a cover stitch. So if you're looking for a versatile serger, I highly recommend checking that one out, and the link is in the description below. So next you want to take your sleeve, have it right side out, find that bottom seam, and match it up with the body side seams. And it helps if you have the body folded right sides in. So that way you slide this sleeve into place and you serge all the way around that circle. And I recommend starting at where the seams meet. So you're going to be serging from the bottom of the armpit all the way up around the shoulder and back to that bottom. Then go ahead and repeat this process for the other sleeve. Then for the final touch, we're going to be doing a top stitch on these hems. And all you have to do is fold that seam over, do a little tack stitch, and this is just going to smooth it out all the way around that hem. And there you go, your minimalistic t-shirt is complete with new methods on how to hem. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. Give us some ideas that you want to see. We'll try to put them out there for you, but we're going to keep videos coming at you, so stay tuned.